So good evening, everyone. I think we can already start. I see that there are a lot of people on the call. So hi, everyone. Welcome to our weekly session. Great to see all of you here as usual. And so I posted the agenda in the chat box. Professor Francesco, you will be leading the meeting, right?
Yes, right, Talia, right. I don't know if Miriam is on the call yet, but she has a meeting at the Leiden University Medical Center, she told me. So she's probably going to join us later. Oh, she's
me? I was there all the time.
You told me you were going for a meeting. You're going for a meeting in LUMC.
So with that,
I'm here from LUMC, joining from LUMC. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Prof. Nice to have you.
the first thing that we're going to discuss today is it's going to be update of the access and control by Putu. Putu, I would like to give you the floor.
Okay, thanks, Alia. I will share my screen. Wait a minute. So, as always, Access and Control Group had a discussion every Monday, and we update about the communication and with the health facilities, and also the communication topic list to know the answer, to know the condition of health facilities. So this is the overview of each country. So from Uganda, Mariam's update that case clinic refused to meet due to COVID-19 load in the hospital. So the data steward need more times to discuss with Mariam about the communication topic list. And from Kitopu Hospital, require one-to-one meeting rather than video call. And then for the other hospital, Liantode and Holy Innocent Hospital, Mariam still waiting the feedback, but now it's quite a challenge because due to district lockdown, so Dr. Isa cannot communicate with that health facilities. But I suggest Mariam to focus on KIU to discuss communication topic list. So the communication topic list will be discussed from this first until the last round, until the third round. From Kenya, so right now Kenya moved to the second round of question, and Kenya just sent the OPD form from NHIF and start to listing the term this week. And I will help Kenya to finish the OPD form, the term, and then synchronize with the private OPD form from the health facility from the government and also the private. From Zimbabwe, so no further update in the last 2 weeks ago. And from Somalia, right now Somalia will move to the second round of question, but Somalia will finalize HMIS district officer. And because of 15 health facilities from government ready to implement, so each of district has one HMIS officer, and they are homogen. So they are all use the HIS, and all of the question is quite same within these 15 health facilities. From Nigeria team still waiting for the result of agreement letter. I will ask Dr. Sakinat about the progress, because yesterday still waiting the agreement letter. And then agreement letter from Ministry of Health, and then also raise issue about VODAN agreement letter between VODAN and health facilities, but I will create it with Frederick. And from Ethiopia answer all of the first round question and ready to move to the second round of question. And from Liberia, Alia and I already discussed last week with Samuel about template creation and explain short explanation about the access and control. So next step, based on yesterday discussion, so Frederick and I will drafting agreement between VODAN and health facilities this week. I hope will be finished next week. And the next plan is to move to the second round of communication topic list to identify the GDPR rules. So right now we have Somalia, Kenya, and Ethiopia that ready to answer the identification of GDPR rules. So as always, I will collect the result and document it in the Google Drive and inform to the coordinator for each country. So that's all from me, Alia. Back to you, Alia.
Thanks a lot. Putu?
Thank you, Alia. If I may come in at this point. Thank you very much, Putu, for the excellent presentation and to the different country groups. Despite all the challenges, they have been able to at least continue communications with the health facilities and moving. I understand that Frederick yesterday also said he's working on the document of the VODAN Africa collaboration agreement with the health facilities. So I'm hoping that Putu, you follow up with Frederick so that we can have that for those health facilities that are ready to get the agreement signed. Professor Miriam and I are in discussion so that we can go into the deployment for those facilities that are ready and they have the agreement signed to symbolize the willingness to work with VODAN Africa. The next item on our agenda is the presentation on approval of CEDAR deployment choice. This is a technical meeting and this presentation will be a technical one. Tomorrow, the Board of VODAN Africa will be meeting and we need to take a technical decision today, which we will present to the board tomorrow for their final approval. So I will invite you, Alia, and perhaps Simon to make this presentation on our behalf on the localization of CEDAR. Yes, Alia. Is that Phil speaking or Samson?
So I think I can start and yeah, and Samson can continue, of course, if possible. So basically yesterday we had a long meeting with a lot of consideration regarding those two approaches that we were considering previously. So yesterday we had a successful deployment, presentation on the successful deployment by Samson, and he was able to deploy CEDAR full architecture locally in his computer. So it was running and working fine with the all components, like including the authorization, authentication, and also the templates itself, and all the other components. So it was working well. So basically, let me start with the presentation. Before we move on, so let me, so yeah, just like this. So so far we have two options, like I mentioned before. The one is the CEDAR localized version or full architecture, which is running and it's complete and it's working well on a computer. So and then and the second option is embeddable editor, which requires dependent components, and it really requires some like development work in order to run it successfully, such as terminology service, user authentication, and also database services. So in order to make working successfully, and also for working as a CEDAR FTP. And in the interest of time, so we kind of interested in now we are more interested in the full CEDAR architecture because it's working now, and that it doesn't require any development work on it. So regarding the CEDAR architecture, there will be Ubuntu operating system, which is required for the work, and it will be provided Ubuntu operating system for smooth running of the CEDAR localized version. And then what I can say. So yeah, taking the CEDAR entire architecture will resolve the issue of data repository because it has already, it includes the database services that, that will be required for CEDAR FTP and for the Elasticsearch technology. Which is not in the embeddable editor, and if we want it in the embeddable editor, we have to really make sure that this component is working, and we, as I mentioned before, it needs some development work around it. And it will be also, it will also resolve the issue of dashboards, since yeah, it already has, it already includes the technology and the architecture for it's already, the component is in the architecture, so which is not quite easy with the embeddable editor. So yeah, and the embeddable editor, the second option is not will not be available until the end of July, which is not appropriate for our timeline. And yeah, it really takes like some design and development work around it. So, and then considering the next steps, Samson and the entire technical team is going to work on the installation and also making it as a package for the deployment of the CEDAR full architecture, so that health facilities easily can deploy the entire architecture like an image. So yeah, then the next step will be also the creating the equivalent of the FTP and the architecture for the VODAN dashboard, so which is going to be done by Rudwan's team, and also it's going to be also there is some work on the purchase of computers. So since CEDAR architecture, the CEDAR deployment will be smoothly working on Ubuntu, and yesterday in the during the meeting we had also some discussion regarding the Windows capabilities and also internet connection issues. So that's why it was more safe and secure and more appropriate to use Ubuntu. So that's it from my side. I don't know if someone has anything to add. So there are two options, and basically we are most on the CEDAR full architecture side, since it's already working, and since Samson was able to deploy it in his computer, and we can already start working and deploying it in within technical team and also within health facilities. So whereas CEDAR embeddable editor requires some development work on it, and it really requires some components to work it smoothly, and to work it to be able to work to be able to be used as a for dashboard purposes and also for CEDAR FTP purposes. So with that, I would like to hand over to Samson, if he has anything to add to this point.
Thank you very much, Aliyah. I guess Samson will make a small presentation on this because he's going to be leading the technical team. And I will need to come back to you, Aliyah. You have presented the pros and cons, and you have also suggested the localization of CEDAR based on the 3 points. I'll just need you to make a formal request for the team to adopt your proposal because you are leading the technical on the CEDAR localization for the team to adopt your request, and then we'll take a vote in the chat for people to say, yes, I accept. Hopefully, we're not going to have any discerning voice, or at least the yes would have it. But let us hear some more technical presentation from Samson. And then we also go back to the countries to now bring forward the CEDAR localization technical person so that we have the team. And then we'll also at the administration handle the logistics of how the members of this team in each country will have to go to the various health facilities to ensure the installation when we're ready. Samson, please.
Yes, Prof. Good afternoon, everyone. Like Alia presented, we had those options of working with the embeddable editor and localizing CEDAR. What we did so far is we managed to install CEDAR locally from on my lab, a quick demo. Can I have 1 minute to connect? Sorry.
Yes, you have all the time. Samson, please go ahead. You can share your host.
Yes, in the meeting discussion until I join from the computer. Prof, the connection is taking a little longer. Can you can continue the other discussions while I set up, in order not to let everybody wait.
Okay, that's fine. So I think we can go to the updates on templates creation. Aliyah?
So yeah, basically we had one of the how to say last meetings on the OPD last week because we have finalized the entire work on OPD, and everyone in the team, data stewards team, could have it. Could have it in CEDAR, and yeah, all country members have their OPDs except Zimbabwe. So there is no any update. There is no any update from their side, and also we are still on progress with Liberian team. And what I know, Ernst is leading the Liberian team, and they are. So last week we had the meeting with them, and the work is on progress with Liberian team. So basically, this is it.
Yes, thank you, Aliyah. Samson is still trying to connect. So I think we can take the next one, the presentation of Ridwan on the dashboard creation and the terminology.
Yeah, he will speak on the terminology paperwork.
All right.
Yes, and I also got like one slide on the dashboard, so that's fine. I'll share my screen in a moment. One second. Do I have permission to share my screen?
Yes,
you already have it.
Okay, now I have it. Okay, so just a very short a kind of discussion on the terminology, especially localization. I think yesterday, also with Miriam and Aliyah, we had a lot of discussion on this. And there were some kind of misconceptions, and also I just want to raise some concerns with some terminology related to localization, because I think it's really important we all are on the same line, because this is really about the data ownership and where the data stays. So I think that's one of the main ideas that this project is also about. So first, I recognize that there's multiple levels of localization. So for example, localization at the country level that we are mainly looking at, is it compliant with local laws? Then we look at the government level. But ultimately, what we're really looking at, and I think that was also really specified by Miriam when we're discussing with John as well, that the ultimate goal is to have the data in residence. So the data remains the facility that produces the data, they retain the data ownership. So that's the most localized level. And I think that's also the idea why we took, why we want to implement CEDAR at the local level. But there is some issue with the word data ownership. I will later specify that, why that may be an issue in some countries. So just the overview I gave before too. So we have VODAN at the top. They just, we implement all the different FTPs within the facilities. There's of course the localization level, the jurisdictions, different countries, to comply with all the laws and the facilities. And then at the bottom, we actually have the data subjects. So that's something that comes into play with the data ownership as well. Like if there's any comments, please break in. You're free to do so. So VODAN has knowledge about the facilities. The facilities retain the sovereignty over data. And this is all findable through metadata. So we can also show this as following. That VODAN, of course, has knowledge also about the jurisdictions. And the jurisdictions, they perform data governance. So this is really to specify all the regulations and rules that are governed over the data that we store. And this, of course, may vary quite differently over the facilities. And each of the facilities, they should uphold data provenance. So they should really record where does this data come from, and how is this data processed, and all these various processes to really kind of bookkeep how this data comes to be and why is it here, why is it like who the owner is, etc. Here comes kind of the discussion I also wanted to kind of give, is that there's a lot of focus on data ownership, but a lot of countries, they also recognize that the data subject, so the person where this data may come from, that they also hold some degree of ownership over the data. And this is one of the components I just wanted to ask, kind of, what is your idea about this? For example, if one of the data subjects, they ask for permission to view all the data that is stored about them. Like what if a jurisdiction enforces this? How do we implement that? And how do we kind of specify that? And the level of data ownership can vary quite wildly. So for example, in the European Union, it goes as far that for certain, unless they give an exemption clause, they retain full data ownership. the data subject, so they can even request to have the data removed. And this is maybe an issue for some jurisdictions to kind of implement this difference. And I would really like to ask, what is your kind of, what is your idea on this? How should we approach this? And how should we really define this? So there's kind of no, we are addressing all the different jurisdictions, let's put it like that. So I don't know if there's any strong opinions on this kind of, because I think data ownership is really one of the primary goals, that we address that. So if there's any kind of comments on that, feel free. I'll also just, while we're at it, I also had to, just a little update about the release specification we've gone forward with. It also uses the same kind of concept. This is purely for the interfacing, and this is really also to retain the data ownership. So the design right now is to really converge on the idea of the fair data point within the facility. So each facility has their own fair data point, and that includes a full installation of CEDAR, a data repository. So this is the database that stores all the data. And what will be added is an interface, and this interface will allow for data visiting. So we can just recap that facility has the local repository, so this retains the data ownership. Of course, it's important that the data provenance is also in good standing for the issues I mentioned before, on that data ownership may not always be 100% clear. The CEDAR implements definability, so it keeps the knowledge base using those metadata templates. Others can find what kind of data is being stored and how to access it. The accessibility, I will address again that this does not mean maximizing accessibility, but this means making the data accessible under predefined conditions. So only people with strict permission will be able to access the data. And this is also implemented in the full CEDAR installation because it includes the user management. And of course, the interoperability, this is implemented through the metadata templates that data stewards are producing. So then the interface, of course, implements the data visiting concept. So this is what really also makes it fair data point that, for example, outside parties, they can interface with the facility if they have the permission to do so, and get statistics about the data. For example, how many records are there? What is some statistic, like for example, percentage of people that are hospitalized, or you can think about any kind of statistics that does not actually expose the data. So through this interface, the data itself will never be exposed. You can only get inferences of the data, so analytics. And this could be really useful for researchers, but this is also primarily used for the dashboarding. So to recap, the fair data point allows for the reusability of the data. So this is really also one of the core concepts, that the data is well documented, of course, findable, accessible, interoperable, and as a result, data is also reusable for later. And that's a really big issue currently. There's a lot of data being gathered, but very little of it is reusable. So I think that's the main ideas I want to present. I will stop the share and then look at the chat. So let's see. Yes, so it's 100% compliant with GDPR, as Miriam said. Yes. So you kind of confirm, Miriam, that the data subject also retains the data ownership, right? And that the facility is the controller, is that correct?
Yes, I mean, it's very good that we discuss it, and I'm also not saying that we shouldn't discuss it at all. But the compliance with GDPR is given, but that is also a very good thing because it protects the right of the data of the subject to which the data refers. So, but we have not it's a philosophical question because in the VODAN design at present, that isn't really meaningful in the sense that the facilities have the data concerning the patients, and those we take as the most basic point. So it's a philosophical discussion only. I don't think it has at the moment any implications for any design, right?
Yes, I just wanted to really make sure that this defined well as well. So it's really when the question arises about data ownership that we can also kind of answer that. I think the only technical aspect about that is, of course, the accessibility aspect. If someone comes up and they say, I want to know what kind of data is stored about me, then they can, for example, get their data back. Of course, this will be handled by the facility and they have the possibility to do that through CEDAR. So I think that's compliant in that way.
Yeah. I think the only thing that we need to do there is identify GDPR as foundational. I think that is for now is enough.
Yeah, I think I reference it as the kind of the reference framework. I think maybe foundational is a better word, and I will use that. I think, yeah, that's very good to know. I appreciate this discussion as well. That really makes it a lot more clear in the documentation.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ridwan. And like I also said, the VODAN Africa agreement that has been signed by all the partner countries are compliant with the GDPR. It was actually stated that because it was one of the conditions by our sponsors. So yes, the VODAN Africa is compliant with GDPR. And in addition to the privacy and data protection laws of the participating countries, it's a requirement that has to be signed. So that is not, it is not ambiguous. There's no ambiguity. It is clearly spelled out for all the partners and they are all in agreement. Thank you for the excellent presentation, Rudran. I don't know if something is ready now, if you have been able to solve the technical concerns, something. There is a message. Yeah, okay. From Dr. Reginald. All right, then while we wait for something, we'll take the next update. The country coordinators. We'll start with Dr. Wondimo. The updates on templates creation. Alia, can you find the participant list? Is Dr. Wondimo on the call?
Yes, sure, just a second.
Yes, Dr. Wondimo is on the call. Din Jamal. For Somalia, I will wait for this.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah. Thank you so much, Prof. Francisco. We have already finalized the creation of the template. It was supposed to meet with today with TXT, but for me, I was traveling from outside, so we didn't meet. I hope we will meet tomorrow to finalize the template. But still, I need some issue that I want you to advise on, which is related to the OBDs. As we have 3 OBDs, one is for under one children, under 5 children, and over 5 years, over 5 years, and also general OBD. That's the 3 OBDs registers that we have. We agreed from first time that to only use under 5 OBDs, but I realized that as we are working with health facilities that is fully supported by the government and international NGO, it is good to use both under 5 and over 5 plus ANC. So in this case, I don't know if I have a time or not, but we need to discuss this issue as if we can use 2 OBDs in one health facility. We initially planned and agreed that to use 1 OBD from health facilities as we don't have computer and as we don't have computers for all OBDs. So I'm figuring out how we can come up with a clear plan that we can, within our limited resources that we have, to use all the OBDs that we have. So I think if you can advise on that, it's good. Otherwise, we have created our template and it's ready for use. Thanks so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dean Jamal, for the updates. Dr. Reginald from Kenya.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Professor. I will ask William to give a report on our behalf, and then I can add just something very small. William, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Prof. Yeah, so far we have agreed on the OPD form. We are harmonizing the one we use for Kenya, and after this meeting, we'll start creating the terms and finalize on everything on OPD. Then we will start the next round of questions and visiting the clinics.
Yeah, so that's where we are, Professor. We are ready to start. And then from the side of the Ministry of Health, I think they've been overwhelmed with the second vaccination. So today the director called me, said they're on board. They're going to write an official letter, and then Dr. Asma, who normally sits in this meeting, we direct us which health facilities to work with from the Ministry of Health. That's all. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reginald. Yes, Dr. Wondimun, I wanted you to give an update on the template creation in Ethiopia, whether you or a member of your team.
Okay. Yes, yeah, I'm hearing you. Good afternoon, colleague. Just to briefly update you, as Putu mentioned, regarding to the communication, the first round communication is already completed and the data is compiled and submitted. And now we are ready for the second. And regarding to the template creation, yes, template creation is also completed. Maybe Tigist can add some additional point if she has, otherwise the template creation is also completed. Thank you, over.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Wondimu. Before Aliyah, please can you allow me to share my screen before Professor Miriam leaves? We need to take a vote, and I'll come back to the country coordinators. Is Professor Miriam still here? Right. Aliyah has made a presentation. If you remember, we had some technical choices to make at the inception of this project or somewhere along the line. And part of those choices is the consideration of the CEDAR embeddable editor, because at that time, the full CEDAR architecture was not ready for localization. And the team of Samson and Getu started the work on the CEDAR embeddable editor as a kind of a workaround that has database services, terminology service, and user authentication. But then it also runs into the problem that data must be duplicated to the nearest CEDAR repository within a country, which will kind of defeat the context of data ownership being owned by the facility. And we also have our timeline that we must complete all this before the end of July. Now we have the full CEDAR architecture where data can be reposited locally, which means the full components of CEDAR can actually be deployed now and installed in the health facilities computer. So which means if we buy computer for Kamukunji County Hospital, we can right at this moment deploy the full CEDAR architecture based on the demonstration made by Samson, who had deployed that in the local computer. And I know Oluwale had also started the process. So because this is a technical decision, it has to come from this meeting. Tomorrow, the board of VODAN Africa will be meeting, and I need to present this decision to them to get the final board approval. So I'm calling on members to please go into the chat box to vote whether in favor or against the deployment of the localized full CEDAR architecture in the hospitals and clinics of this project. I'm going to be checking, please, for the votes. I wanted Professor Miriam to witness this because she's going to be supporting me at tomorrow's meeting. I can't find my message box, my chat. So for me, I am voting yes to deployment of localized full CEDAR. In Kenya, Aliyah, the technical team has voted Somalia, Yili. I've seen Nigeria, Uganda. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Obina, please, you're going to help us to record the number of yes and the number of no's, if we have any, on this. Thank you very much. Please keep the votes coming, even while we continue. Yes, Dr. Sakinat.
Yes, thank you, Professor Francisca. Thank you. I just want maybe just something to clear my mind. Now, the full CEDAR architecture, now, that's what we are going to deploy now. We're not deploying the embeddable editor anymore. The full CEDAR architecture, I believe, we still go along with our data ownership.
Yes,
for
yes.
each of the
first point here, that data can be reposited locally. So Olabisi Onabanjo computer, the Olabisi Onabanjo clinic computer would have the data reposited and not taken anywhere.
Okay, so this full CEDAR architecture is now going to be deployed locally now.
Yes, yes, in the individual computers in the health facilities. And
Okay.
It's also in the dashboard. Yes, so it's making your work.
Okay, that's my next question. Dashboard. Okay, thank you.
We can do it today. If you have your computer ready, we can do it today.
Oh yeah, Rudwan, let's go.
Yes.
Right. Thank you very much. While Obina takes the recording of the votes, I would like us. Yes, Samson. Yes, Samson.
Yes, I'm ready. I think it will also answer some of the questions by Dr. Sakinat. So I'm ready if there is.
Yes, okay.
If I may.
Yes, Samson. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, can you enable my screen? Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Samson. I can see your screen.
Yes, just I think because we had already a discussion here, the deployment of CEDAR locally and working with the CE, because also working with the CE required CEDAR architecture, we decided to explore and deploy the CEDAR system locally. And this is the architecture of CEDAR. We have the template editor, we have the all the components here, and these are the infrastructure or the databases that need to be installed. This is the Onto portal and the systems. So let me show you what the system looks like. We try to customize the login page a little bit, and this is how it looks like. So I can log in with an already created account, or it also allows me the creation of an account here, for instance, VODAN. So sorry. This is the administration console for user management. It uses key clocks to localize. Yeah, the one which is available in the remote is with CEDAR.org. This CEDAR.org X is what is running locally. And now I created an account which is called VODAN Africa. So that's why it's logging me here. We can create folders like this. We can also create templates. For instance, OPD. Yeah, just the same way we create the system remotely. So it's the template is created, and we can also populate data. For instance, Samsung. Now the system is creating the JSON link data the way you see it in the RDF file, and all this is being created on my local machine or on my laptop, because I'm using my laptop to do all the things. It also gives us the API features which we can use to develop the dashboard. We deployed the whole CEDAR infrastructure, so we are able to access every information that we need. For instance, this is the API specification, so we can use to look for data. For instance, I also had created another account before, so let me try to log in with that account and see how the data is being like with different access roles. We have different templates. For instance, this template is different from the one which was created before. This one has age, and we can insert data, and we can do whatever we like with this. And to see if the data is coming, we can use this API to search for the records, the instances. For instance, we can search for the instances created. This is to show you some of the features which are already working. For instance, I can search for VODAN, and it should, yeah, it's giving me 200 response code, which means it's correct. It says owned by Samsung Yohane Samara, because I created it. I created the instance, and So we have lots of functionalities that are coming with this. It also has some sort of a dashboard. Of course, this dashboard is not fully of open source, so we cannot use it. We are going to create ours, but we are using it to prototype some of the features that it has to see what it is like to have a dashboard locally. Yeah, we can monitor the logs, and we also have the user management feature, which is run by KitLogs. Because we have deployed the whole infrastructure, we have access to all the things. What we are working on now is on being able to package it so that we can deploy it easily in the clinics, and the other is on ways of making the system to be a little bit light so that it can be used by others. If you have any questions, I think I can accept. Otherwise, thank you. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you very much, Samson. I know we are running out of time, but this is something very important. Now, the question is, we had proposed, or Ali had proposed in her presentation, that we need to set up the localization teams in each of the countries. Now, my question is, do we need to have, each person will have to physically go to the clinics to deploy this? Like the one for Mekele, you have that of Mekele. If we need to have for another clinic, say Case Kampala, somebody will have to physically go to Case Kampala to deploy this. Is that right?
Well, what do you mean by physically? I mean, we are going to...
we have to go, like I will have to go to Kampala to install this in their computer. Yeah, so that it will help in
what we are trying to do.
Okay.
Yes, we are working the best we can to make the installation as easy as possible so that anybody can do it from where they are. I mean, what we are aiming at is a solution that can be installed by the data stewards wherever they are.
Yeah, that's my point. That's my question. Okay, that's right. Because I'm speaking for countries like Liberia, like Somalia, and Tanzania, who don't have VODAN data stewards, but they have health facility data stewards. So that in preparing the training, the country coordinators should bear this in mind. Abdullahi Kawu does not need to physically, for example, come to Lokoja to install for FVL health services. They can easily organize a training for the data steward in FVL to deploy this. So this question of mine is actually for the benefit of the country coordinators, so that they will know the required human resources or human expertise in implementation of this in the health facilities. Thank you again, Samson. I don't see any hands up. And are there still questions from members of the community? Next door. I apologize. All right, Dr. Sakina says okay. Do we have any more updates from the country coordinators? Nigeria. Dr. Sakinat.
Yes, thank you, Professor Francisca. We have designed our template, and I already shared it with Alia. And then our terminologies, we have already created it, and I shared it with Alia, and she made some corrections, and we are good to go.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sakinat. And then Professor Bernard is having network challenges, but Professor Miriam had given an update on Zimbabwe that says, for Zimbabwe, the Tubor Graduate School has approved ethical clearance for Kudakwashe. That is so nice. And then thanks to Dr. Araya, we had a very good meeting with Open HIE that I hope Dr. Araya can update about. Dr. Araya, would you be able to give a brief update on the meeting, please?
Yeah, thank you, Professor Francisca, and good afternoon all. Also, thank you, Samson, for your excellent work. A week before, we had a discussion with the OpenHI. OpenHI is, stands for Open Health Information Exchange. It is a kind of community practice, a global community practice, focusing on health information exchange, having standards and about interoperability. And they do have also OpenHI Academy. So the Magala team, we have been working with the OpenHI community for 3 years now. And in Ethiopia, we at Magala University, in collaboration with the global community, we have this OpenHI Academy within our digital health center. So we thought that it's good to get introduced the VODAN community with the OpenHI community, because the OpenHI community, they do have interest to work with African universities in African countries. So we introduced Professor Miriam with the leaders of the OpenHI community. And hopefully, one of the leaders of OpenHI community, like Jennifer, will get some time to, or sometime in the coming few weeks, she will present about OpenHI in our weekly VODAN webinars. Professor Francisca, I hope you have you are included in the email, so you have got a good idea. And Alia, Rodwan, Putu, Yelena, I see in the email communication of VODAN and OpenHI. So the idea is that because here we have a capacity building, like a data storage training, and in the OpenHI community, there is an academy, and the academy do kind of online courses, course materials on workflows, standards, interoperability, global goods. So we think that this academy or the course materials in the OpenHI Academy are also quite useful for our VODAN community. It was a very productive meeting. Now Professor Miriam is already in touch with the leaders of the OpenHI community. So she will lead us how to move forward with this global OpenHI community. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Araya. This is a welcome proposed collaboration Professor Miriam had discussed with me. And as we're moving to the next phase of the project, we'll be happy to collaborate with these international organizations that are promoting open data, especially with respect to health data. Thank you. Before we close, I would like to quickly recognize Seth Okeyo, the data steward from Kenya Medical Research Center. I would like to welcome him to the VODAN Africa family, and then to assure him that very soon the train will move to the Kenya Medical Research Center for the installation of the FDP. Welcome, Seth. Are there questions from members of our community? We have stayed 5 minutes beyond the time. I don't want us to encroach much into the time. Is Misha here on the special issue? And another good news, the article on Fair Data for Africa, the Advanced Genetics, was published later last week. This is another win for members of our community, and I say thank you and congratulations to all the members who contributed to the production of the article. Thank you very much, Seth. We're happy to have you, and we hope you continue to join our meeting until we complete the deployment in the Kenya Medical Research Center. If there are questions or any other AOB from the members of the community, right, I'll hand over back to you, Aliyah, so you close the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone for joining this meeting. With this, I would like to close the meeting and have a nice evening and see you next week as usual. Bye.
Bye, everyone.